Hi, this is Lori Johnson with Hancock Whitney Bank, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast. Visit localleadersthepodcast.com for previous episodes or for information on appearing on the show.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Local Leaders, the podcast. And y'all, it's getting a little bit warmer outside. I don't know if you noticed, but there's one thing I think of when it starts getting warmer, and that is storm season. And storm season brings thoughts of what if I need restoration after a storm? And that brings thoughts of the guests sitting across from me today. And this is Christy and Alicia Jarreau of Paul Davis Restoration. So before we go any further, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
One thing that is interesting about restoration companies is it's not just limited to one particular event, if you will. And we're going to get into all the, I would say, very vast array of services that Paul Davis Restoration offers today. But I want to tell everybody a little bit about the company and the history, because that's, first of all, I'm a history guy. Second of all, I love it when I see businesses that have longevity, because longevity usually means you're doing something right. So for those of that may be unfamiliar, Paul Davis Restoration is a franchise. So they're privately owned. Each franchise is owned by, an individual business owner, but it actually started in 1966 by, you guessed it, Paul Davis. Didn't have to think too hard on that. And it rapidly kind of grew into a network now that are 300 plus franchises throughout the United States that are independently owned and operated. You almost couldn't pick a better spot, in my opinion, to have a restoration company, sadly, than Louisiana, because so much goes on around here. And we talked about it kind of at the beginning of this show. It's getting close to storm season, right? I mean, everybody's got their eye on the Gulf. It's heating up. That water's getting a little warm, and that breeds storms in the Gulf of Mexico. So I guess my first question would be, with all the services that you offer, is hurricanes kind of your big season, or is there no season for what you do in restoration?
Really no season.
That's
Every
interesting.
day offers something different in the restoration industry.
I can imagine.
Every day.
You wake up thinking you're doing one thing, and you end up doing, going a whole different direction, because we can't control the weather, right?
No.
And so we're going to get into services and all that sort of thing that you do offer. I do want to mention something right off the top. And when we did our little pre-meeting, you talked about some pre-loss documentation for storms, that you have an interesting kind of system that you use to help homeowners. I would imagine business owners would qualify here too, if you had a business that you wanted this done. But tell us about that service and the benefit that it would offer to someone.
We offer DocuSketch, so we can actually go in and take a 360-degree view of each room in your home to pre-loss ready it in case you get hit by a hurricane.
Yeah, that's
It
huge.
captures everything from the condition of your bed, so you're not faced with depreciation value as bad.
Love that.
You're getting all of the books on the shelves in your kids' rooms, everything that's in your bathroom, your towels, your clothes,
Yeah.
kitchen appliances that are sitting out that may be flooded.
Yeah.
So we've really ramped up and started using DocuSketch. It's a great utensil to use to pre-loss things. We can do hotels, we can do apartment complexes, schools, businesses. It just gives us an extra edge to get everything ready for you, so you're not fighting with the insurance company over your belongings.
Yeah, and I didn't even think about schools, but that would obviously be a great avenue for that. But I can tell you personally, and I'll make this testimonial straight from experience. After the flood of 2016, if you had documentation of like your contents and all that sort of thing, it flooded usually, unless you were smart enough to upload it to a cloud. And I can't say that I was. So when it was time like to cover my loss,
were you digging through your trash pile? Like
I was taking
else?
pictures of it. And you just brought up a key point, which is the depreciation. If you have a picture of it like before it flooded, that's going to show someone the condition of it. If it's after it's flooded and it looks like it's been through a car wash, they're going to just say, well, we're depreciating it this much. And it could have been beautiful, looked brand new before it went under 6 feet of water. So that's huge.
Less than 20% of homeowners report to their insurance company when they get a new TV, when they get a new microwave.
I don't.
When they replace their stove.
Yeah.
So having a 360-degree view in your home of everything and the condition that it's in is extremely important after a hurricane.
100%. And what you showed me kind of how this thing looks and works. And y'all, I'm going to tell you the pictures. That's what I really like about it. They are crystal clear.
Crystal clear.
You can literally see like the creases in a bed sheet.
Absolutely.
For example, it's 20 times better than taking a picture from your phone. And then you're taking 9 pictures to get your room. Well, this thing scans the whole area and then it catalogs it.
Yeah, so basically the catalog process begins at our office. So we will take all of the photos. We go in, we label everything by room. And so you have a 360-degree shot of each room in your house.
Yeah.
If you want the contents listed on it, we can also do big appliances or list that.
Yeah.
It all goes off of the square footage of your home. It depends on how large your home is.
Yeah.
We come up with an affordable price for all families
to
be able to do
Love
it.
that. Yeah.
It's the same technology that hotels and real estate agents use to give a 360-degree walkthrough of their home.
Yeah, they call that they have a similar thing called a Matterport that does similar, but I'll tell you, it's just an amazing piece of equipment / software that will really ease the burden, because let's face it, and y'all are the experts of this, after, whether it's a storm, whether a pipe busted in your house, whether you had a step through, whether you notice mold on your ceiling all of a sudden in your bathroom, any of these issues, it's a stressor for a homeowner, number one, or a business. They don't deal with it every day. You do. So to be able to put that in someone else's hands is huge. I speak from experience, because a lot of us at that time, even the restoration companies were so busy, it was just like you were in line no matter what, whether it was sheetrock or whatever. So it's a huge thing to be able to have a company that you can just kind of lean everything on and say, look, I don't want to deal with this. My house flooded, help. And boom, here comes Paul Davis Restoration to the rescue. So we're going to talk about services now. And that was what really impressed me more than anything about your company is it's not just hurricanes, although that's definitely a disaster that you tend to. You do all kinds of other things. One thing you do that is unique, sadly it's needed, is trauma and biohazard cleanup.
Absolutely.
And probably something not a lot of, I'm not familiar with a whole lot of companies that do that. So it's unique to your company in particular, especially probably in the restoration world, but also creates even more expertise for what you're doing. Now, tell me a little bit about that.
So most homeowners don't understand that they actually have coverage on their policy if someone passes away in their house, that we can go in and clean it up at literally no cost to the homeowner other than possibly your deductible.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that we see daily, sadly, is overdoses.
Yeah.
Overdoses, possibly grandmother passing away, grandfather passing away at home. Those are a lot easier to clean up than overdoses. Suicides are really high right now. But we also offer services if you get in an accident and you've wrecked your car and your car has blood in it. Mm-hmm. We have a huge warehouse at Paul Davis, where we can bring your vehicles in, file with your insurance company, get that out of there. If your kids had chocolate milk in the back seat and you got in an accident and it slammed all over everywhere, because it happens.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
We can get it clean for you back to the standards that it was before you got in the accident.
That's a great tip. And you're right, it does happen. And look, a guy that came from the paint sales world, I can't tell you how many customers would get in accidents with paint in the back of their car.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a mess.
That's a little bit harder to clean up.
Yeah.
So we're not as seasoned in paint cleanup, but a lot of moms leave the sunroofs open on their cars, their vans, go through the car wash accidentally.
Yeah.
So if you bring it to us quickly, we can get it vacuumed out, get fans put in it, get it dried out for you so your car's not smelling horrible in 2 days.
Yeah.
Or starts to mold.
That's right. And, when people think of biohazard cleanup, crime scene cleanup, it's important to note that it's not just the very traumatic things that happen in life. Maybe you get home and you've got, I'll tell you another story of mine. I pulled up here at the studio one day and they had an armadillo that somebody hit in the middle of the road, and it was sitting right there in the parking lot. And look, I ain't messing with no armadillo, dead armadillo. I didn't want to touch it. I didn't want to throw it away. So I didn't know what to do. And
How bad was your smell level?
Yeah, it was bad because it happened over a weekend. So it had been out there baking, y'all. I mean, it was bad. Yeah, and I had like podcasts that day. I was like, I don't want anybody coming over here. Now I was fortunate. At the time, I did not realize y'all would have done this, but I'm like, who can I get to do this? I was very fortunate that my pest control guy was the first guy I called,
right.
And he came and took care of it. But that is something you would take care of.
Odor control in homes are huge with us.
Yeah.
So we get calls all the time for pet stains that they've had it cleaned professionally. They can't get the smell out of their house. We can come in, we can ozone your home.
Yeah.
Ozone knocks pretty much everything out.
Does it really?
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah. So hoarding scenes.
Absolutely.
You remember the TV show, folks. Well, they can clean that up.
We have seen quite a few of those.
I bet you got some stories on that.
We go in, we do it with dignity and pride with the homeowner. We never make a homeowner feel like this is the worst possible thing that I did was to call somebody to help me.
Yeah.
We help them through the process. We're very kind in helping them through it, but it's hard when you have to let go of your personal belongings.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue that we face daily is if it's infiltrated with mold or if it's a trauma scene, explaining to the customer that they have to get rid of certain items. And we do the best that we can. Absolutely, yeah. Nobody wants their kid's blanket to be thrown in the garbage.
Yeah. Let's talk about fire and smoke damage. So, fires happen, and never is anyone prepared for that.
No.
But fire isn't necessarily the only effect of a home. Sometimes maybe fire never rears its ugly head, but the smoke does. Maybe you catch it fast, but the smoke's in there. You get smoke damage. The worst thing with smoke is it can get into the studs, and it can absolutely be an awful situation with regard to smell. It's just that musty, smoky, burn smell. In those situations, that's something you handle, and I would imagine you go all the way down to the studs if you have to get that smell out.
Typical fires, Christy will confirm this, typical fires, we have to gut it to the studs.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now, if it's a protein fire, if it's something that happened on your stove, we can soot sponge everything down. We can freshen it up without ripping everything out.
Yeah.
Because that's a nightmare for a homeowner to walk into your house and you say, we're going to take down every wall in here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
they're already dealing with stress, right?
If it doesn't need to be coming out, it's not going to come out.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not going to just go in there and cut all your walls out
just for fun.
Yeah.
No more fun for you than them on that.
We take
on
a
that
very
front.
reserved approach to mitigating fire unless it's like a total burnout.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, over the Christmas holidays, we had several back-to-back that came in from chimneys, fireplaces, not
Yeah.
having them swept. Some
Yeah.
of them manufacturer errors. That's the big thing. If we could tell anybody a suggestion, and we don't do it, but to sweep your chimney.
Yeah.
Sweep it
Big
now.
cause of fire.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And it's substantially more expensive to have it done in the winter months than it is to have it done now.
Yeah. And I had heard that a fire department guy one time told me that was a big one. And also I don't know what you call
dryer
it.
vent.
Yeah. Pulling that lint out of there is apparently a huge.
Yeah, you can pull your
cause of-
lint all day. You have to really just get down in there, pull it out, stick your vacuum cleaner attachment down in there, suck all of it out of there.
Yeah.
Because that's what heats up. That's what causes fires.
There you go. So some good tips for people to know, maybe to avoid ever having that situation.
Absolutely.
Just an awful situation there. But if they do come across it, there's a solution. I mean, y'all can take control of that situation and get them back whole again, I guess you could say, after such a
The biggest thing is
traumatic
we want
event.
everybody to understand that we work 24/7. We
yeah.
do not
You
shut
just read
down.
my mind. Yeah.
We don't shut down. It doesn't matter. If we've had 19 disasters during the day, we're still going to respond to your home quickly.
Yeah. So if you have a fire, it's 2:00 in the morning.
Call
by
us.
3:00, the fire is out. Call you, and you're
Call
gonna
us.
you're gonna come
Someone
out
will
on scene.
You will always get a friendly person on the other end of the phone. No matter if it's 2 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, we're going to take care of you. We have a great pack out team at work that will pack your home out so you don't have to remove
Whoa,
it
that's
yourself.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I mean, you're already dealing with enough. Okay, let's move to water and flood damage. Everybody knows about that in these neck of the woods, but a lot of people learned a lot of lessons during that. Number one, they learned it's better to stick to professionals for a lot of the stuff.
Yes.
Even though in some cases maybe you didn't have a choice, but they learned a lot relative to in the future how to handle things, and restoration companies were the way to go. Number one, when you're a homeowner and you go through a flood, let's say, the insurance company nightmare is not something you want to have to fight.
No, it's bad.
Correct.
Now, yeah, and the good thing about a Paul Davis restoration is they deal with this every day. They have not only the proper licenses, but they know the process, and they know how to get it handled. My question would be, if someone went through a flood, or maybe they just have water damage. Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe their pipe busted and it leaked all over the ceiling, and they've got some damage there just from a pipe busting. Do they have to, how does it work with regard to compensation? So you come in, you take care of that. Let's say they're covered through whatever company.
Sure.
Do they have to come out of pocket for your services, and then they get reimbursed, or how does that work?
So we file with the insurance for most jobs.
Okay.
Unfortunately, on mold, that is not something that we send the homeowner on an egg chase with,
Yeah.
because not every insurance company offers mold coverage.
Which surprised me when she told me that.
No, they do not. And if you do have mold coverage, sometimes you're at a cap of maybe 10 grand,
Yeah.
which is not always enough to do it. So we try to give all customers an upfront estimate of what it's going to cost, not only to mitigate it, which is treat it, but go in and do the recon and do the repair on it.
Gotcha. And you brought up mold. It's a serious thing.
It's horrible in Louisiana.
Absolutely. We live in a rainforest around here. So everything melts. And again, from a guy that dealt with paint for as many years as I did, I would get those calls, and I would say, your You're in a rainforest. There's mold is going to occur. It's the length of time in which you see it on the exterior of a house on a paint film. It's just kind of attaching.
And
to
everybody
that.
thinks if
Oh,
they
it's the
run to
paint.
their local paint store
Yeah.
that they're going to buy something, and as long as they paint over it,
Yeah. Yeah, that's the worst thing.
unseen, unheard, that
You just embedded all that mold. That was
I mean,
bad. Yeah,
so
definitely don't want to do that.
homeowners that feel that it's easier to paint over it than have us come in, we can save you a ton of money in the long run, because
Tons.
if that spot is small when we start, the standards for where we live requires us to take out 2 feet on each side of where that spot is at.
Right.
So you're looking at a 4-foot box, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. That's right.
and
Just for a little spot.
just for a tiny spot.
Yeah.
So if you let it manifest in your wall and it gets bigger, we've had to gut whole homes.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And let me tell y'all about mold real quick and the seriousness of it. And look, I had a friend, he had a bathroom, and it was a rather large bathroom, but he didn't have a whole lot of ventilation in there. And he had a shower, and the shower was exceptionally big. And he had a large family, and they would all take hot showers every night. Well, he would notice mold spores growing on his ceiling. So he'd get up there with some Clorox or whatever and wipe it off. Well, it got kind of, it was a pain in the butt to do that. So it got a little out of hand. And eventually he had a little bit of a problem. And people were getting sick in his house.
Absolutely.
And couldn't figure out what was up. They were literally getting sick. Well, look, dust settled, and come to find out, it was that mold up there that was causing it. The bathroom just didn't have a ton of ventilation. So when they would steam up the mirrors and everything, taking them hot showers, that water has nowhere to go but up. And it just sits there, and mold grew. And so that's a serious situation where his family was getting sick. Two of his family had to be hospitalized because it had gotten in their lungs, and it wasn't even that bad. I saw pictures of it. It was not good, but it wasn't what you would think would make someone sick. It was just little black spots every sporadically. Yeah. But mold spores float, and you breathe them in, and that's when it becomes a problem.
Absolutely.
So, if you have that kind of scenario and you start noticing black in your bathroom or any room in your house around air conditioner vents, give Paul Davis a call and at least let them go check it out.
And here's the thing: your homeowners get stuck in a situation and they're like, "How do I know that it's actual mold in my home and it's not just mildew?" Mm-hmm. We have a gentleman that goes out, does all of the testing.
Yep.
You know, we call your insurance company. We verify if you have mold coverage. If you don't, we give you an affordable route to take.
Yep.
So it's not something that you just are stuck with the overhaul cost and you're like, well, I can't help you. We're not going to help you out. We do everything possible to work with homeowners to get the insurance company to pay and help them.
Yeah, 100%. And look, you remediate it and you take care of that situation. There are products you can purchase that you can use to remediate mold. And I mean, from a Paul Davis restoration standpoint, the real stuff, not the stuff you'd get from Home Depot necessarily.
Absolutely.
So don't believe the hype. Get a professional and let them use what they are licensed to purchase and use. And look, there's a training process that's involved in all that. It's not as simple as what one would think, and I can speak to that also from experience. So obviously, as you just said, you'll assist with the insurance claims process and get it fixed before someone ends up sick and in the hospital, which is
Absolutely.
A tough deal. So another thing around here that unfortunately we get is, even when we don't get from those hurricanes necessarily maybe the water that we were expecting, we get the wind and storm damage. So whether it's shingles flying off your house while it's raining and then it rains in your house, or or just any sort of damage in general to your home, my question to you would be, there's a cleanup maybe process involved after storms. Is that something y'all get involved in any way, shape, or form?
Absolutely. We go out, we take moisture readings in people's attics, their living rooms, dining rooms, bedrooms. We can check every wall in your house to make sure that it's dry and that you didn't get water infiltration.
Right. Very good. What about like tree removal and stuff like that?
Tree removal, we do not do tree removal.
So don't call them if your tree falls. But if it falls through your house, call them.
Call us. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
We do emergency tarps.
Oh, there you go.
So if you're
the thing you can't find after a storm, folks.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that's a huge deal because after the storm is when everybody wants that blue tarp, and good luck finding that at Home Depot.
You go to Harbor Freight, you're not getting it.
Nope. So that's something actually very good to know is that.
And most of the time, your insurance company will pay for your roof to be tarped during a disaster.
Really?
It does.
Another thing I didn't realize.
Yep, they do.
So they'll cover that. And another reason you deal with Paul Davis Restoration because they already knew that. And they can, that's something I wouldn't even think to ask my insurance company to cover, you know.
Sure.
I would think that was just my deal. Now, this is probably the most interesting service that they offer that I call a separator. With every business that comes in, I look for separators, things that they do that are definitely not run of the mill. One of the things that's really nice about Paul Davis Restoration is that y'all will do basically reconstruction of someone's home after a disaster. So where, you know, maybe some restoration companies, they'll come in, they'll mitigate the issues that you have. At that point, you have to then hire contractors to come in and, okay, so thank you for taking care of all my studs after this fire, and now I got to find someone to put the sheetrock back up. Well,
not at Paul
who
Davis.
wants to do that? Yeah, I mean that's to me. I want to be able to just say, you know, I want it just to look like it did before all this happened. So I'm going to hire you, and you figure it out, right? And that's kind of a separator with y'all that not you won't get that out of a whole lot of restoration companies. So kind of tell me about that.
Our general manager, Craig Johnson, used to build custom homes, licensed contractor for the state of Louisiana. Great rates.
Yeah.
Great rapport.
Experience, you know, which is huge.
Ton of experience.
Yeah.
He keeps the cost down for the homeowners. We provide you with a rebuild estimate. We get it approved by your insurance before we begin reconstruction.
Well, that's nice.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
No surprises there.
A lot of contractors come in after storms. They jump right in. They start rebuilding your house, and then they realize about midway through, we didn't get approval from the insurance company. When that happens, homeowners are left on the chain for thousands of dollars that they don't have.
And you've seen that, I bet.
Thousands of times.
That's horrible.
Thousands of times.
Yeah, that's a bad thing. You've got enough going on in your life than to have to
you're balancing everyday life and juggling everyday life.
Yeah.
Craig just has a great rapport when he goes in. He sees things that, you know, we don't see as far as visions for homeowners.
Sure.
So, you know, sometimes they just need upgrading. Sometimes your kitchen may need a remodel. You can call us for that.
Yeah.
Kitchens, bathrooms, anything.
Awesome. So a whole
interior, exterior.
Yeah. And I told y'all at the beginning of the show, the services are vast, and vast is what you want out of especially a restoration company, because you ain't going to want to have to deal with any of that. You're already dealing with enough. And I want to ask you something directly, kind of off script, but so you handle a lot of the sales aspect of Paul Davis Restoration.
Business development.
Yeah. So how important is it? I find you to have a very steady tempo, very calm demeanor. extremely important to have that in what you do, I would imagine.
Certainly.
Yeah.
If you go in and you're nervous, the customer's going to smell that a mile away.
Yeah.
We go in, we're very calm when talking to a customer. Sometimes it's really bad. We know that it's really bad.
Yeah.
We just keep our cool. We stand there. Christy and I spent almost 4 months in Florida working Hurricane Ian. We deployed to help other Paul Davises.
Oh, wow.
It was a very tragic situation. We saw a lot of homeowners that had lost everything that they owned.
Yeah.
You know, and it's important to be calm when you're selling the job or you're trying to get business from someone. Our owners, our contractor, he makes that very easy for us.
Yeah.
We have owners, Gary and Grace Johnson, that are extremely supportive
Yeah.
of all of the employees, whether it's on continuing education, whether it's getting you the certification that you need, giving you the tools that you need in the field. They handle everything for us.
That's huge.
It makes our job just very simple.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I get the sense that you really do care about, you know,
Absolutely.
You definitely want the business, and you know, from a salesperson perspective,
Sure.
You always want to make the sale, but I get the feeling from you that you really are just a problem solver. You want to help.
But I
somebody.
also follow the job through, and
Yeah.
I make sure that my customer's happy.
Yeah.
And we make sure that nothing is off at all.
Yeah.
You know, again, the support that we have from the owners at Paul Davis in Baton Rouge is astounding.
Makes a difference.
Oh, hugely. They make sure that we are educated in the fields that we're working in. My specialty is trauma and crime scene cleanup.
Yeah.
And I love what I do with that because I love being able to go in and be the peace of mind for the family when they're looking at something that's really bad in their home.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
you know, they have a caring person on the other side, not just somebody selling it and pushing, hey, we want you to buy the service.
Yeah.
We care about our customers.
Yeah. I can tell, and a very tough, you know, especially dealing with crime scenes and all those sorts of things. It takes a special person, in my opinion,
Sure.
to be able to do that. And so in my opinion, you're blessed to have that whatever it is that allows you to be able to do that and actually care so much for that. Love that. Now with reconstruction services, obviously you mentioned, all the certifications are there, licensed contractor.
Sure.
You can do everything from, you know, permit acquisition, which, hey, that's a process. You know, go try to go to a parish, Livingston Parish or wherever permit office, and see how much fun that is to deal with, especially a homeowner
We have
perspective.
a team of project managers at our office. We
Yeah.
have Danny, Tina, and Kayla. The 3 best project managers you would ever want to work with.
Yeah.
They take care of getting your permits. They keep you on budget.
Yeah.
They make sure you have enough money to do your rebuild.
Yeah.
And that's important to us. And those ladies work theirself to death doing that.
Absolutely.
They are driven, and they communicate directly with our general contractor in-house, and they have great ratings. If you ever go to our Google reviews, we have great Google reviews.
Which is not an easy task, really, for any company, whether you're running an ice cream shop or a restoration
Sure.
company. It's not easy to have great Google reviews, but especially in your business, because it's such a sensitive time. When you're needed, it's never good. You know, usually it's usually the worst nightmare in someone's life has just occurred, and they need you to help. And so, if you don't handle it just right,
Yeah,
you know,
and we don't have a 5-star on Google review.
Nobody
It's pretty
does,
hard to
unless
get
they're
that.
fake.
Right.
However, if you read through majority of them, we're not always going to make every person happy.
Yeah, it's not even
And our
humanly
owners
possible.
realize that, but our owners also realize that there's a teaching process in between.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do get a low Google review, we are not chastised for that review.
Yeah.
They use it as a utensil to help us to grow as a company
Yeah.
and become a better team.
Right.
So that's one of the good things. Again, our owners, you can't say enough nice things about them. They
Yeah.
coach us and they help us in any way that they can.
Well, and it shows. It shows in, when if an owner is doing his job properly, correctly, and leading, which owners are leaders, it reflects in their employees. And I think y'all are both doing a wonderful job of expressing how much you care. And that is from proper training. That is from a passion. You must take ownership in the company, right? So
Absolutely.
very good. And we talked about, let's talk about training for a second.
Sure.
Now that you brought it up, and training is huge in any company. I would imagine restoration companies are probably at the top of things change on a dime in any industry, right? With me in the paint world, new paint always came out. New technology always came out. And next thing I know, what was working yesterday isn't the best ananymore.
It's not working anymore.
Yeah, you had to stay on top of that. In your world, same thing. I mean, what may mask or kill mold and mildew one day, there may be second rate the next day, and there's this wonderful new product that makes it easier or whatever. But your company is very involved in the training aspect of what you do. CE credits y'all get. And
So Paul Davis University is a vital, important part of what we get as far as training on a daily basis. When you
Yeah.
start at Paul Davis, you're given a login, and they have so many courses on so many different things.
you feel like
And
you're at
Paul
Harvard.
Davis University.
much.
It's Paul Davis University. They get all of the training that they need, but our owners go a step further, and they get IICRC certifications.
Love that.
IICRC in the restoration industry is huge.
Yeah.
It gives you a breakdown of what you need to do, but what is also ethical to do.
Love that. Yeah.
So, monthly they offer classes to the technicians, to the marketing department, to the project managers, to our estimators. They are huge on education.
Changes occur that fast.
Huge
I mean, on a
on
monthly
education.
basis sometimes, and you have got to stay. And good companies do that, and so it's rare that I see, believe it or not, companies spending as much time in training as they do anything else. And
Right.
probably the most important aspect of a successful business, especially in your field, is constant training. And so look, kudos to the owner of your company for seeing the value of that, and Paul Davis as a whole for seeing a value in that stuff. Very important. Now, let's talk about tips a little bit.
Wrap your pipe.
Guilty, Your Honor, of having a busted pipe thanks to that ice storm a couple years ago right here at this office. It's such an easy thing to do, but it's something that it seems like people don't do until the night of, or they're not prepared. So then they go out the night of and they can't get what they
Home
need to
Depot the night before a freeze is a madhouse. It is.
get. You're right.
A
Been
lot
there.
of people don't understand that fun noodles,
Yeah.
you may have some laying around the house. So
Yeah.
your tip on that is utilize your fun noodles for your pool.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier to replace those in the spring than it is to replace all of your drywall in your house.
You got that right. And it will absolutely look. We had just this past winter, we had that like 3-day deal where
And we were infiltrated with calls.
really,
Infiltrated with
and
calls.
we had some notice on that. That's the crazy thing. Like people knew that was coming
absolutely.
for about a week, and still people maybe didn't take the proper steps, or maybe they thought they did but didn't. You know, they threw a T-shirt over it, and then the T-shirt got wet, and you just had an ice pack on it, your pipe. So very important for people to do, and like you said, a good tip there. You can take one of them little pool noodles and just cut it and put it around your pipe. They make those faucet covers that are just so easy
Jim,
to use.
the likelihood of finding a faucet cover the day before a freeze is 0 to none.
Right.
Easiest
You can sell them
thing
for
is,
$10 a piece and probably
if you
get rid
can't
of them.
find one, go to the Dollar Tree, get yourself a fun noodle, make yourself a little box out of it, stick it down on there.
Yeah.
It's going to save your pipe.
You know, one thing they've done a good job of in Louisiana, because of really the Gulf Coast, is you have these hurricane prep lists, right? And every year you go to the local grocery store, they'll have these little give me copies and things like that. And those are great. But they don't spend a whole lot of time on, like, especially because we're in the South and it's hot around here, even in the winter. But they don't spend any time on like winter freeze checklist,
No,
you know,
because it's rare.
it's rare, but it does happen. And when it does, it ain't just one person. It's 9 million people calling you at once. But that's okay, because Paul Davis has got your back, and you call, they're
We
coming.
have you covered.
Yeah, 100%. So that's some little tips there. Let me give you a scenario. We're going to play a little scenario game.
Sure.
I'll give you a scenario, and you tell me what the best thing to do would be.
Sure.
I get home and I realize a water pipe has busted in my house. And so obviously my first step, because I'm a loyal listener of Local Leaders, a podcast, is I say, I'm calling Paul Davis Restoration, because Jim did that podcast. So they call and they get you on the case. What should they do? Should they turn their water off? I mean, it seems like a common sense thing, but would they go to their main and cut that water off? And
Turn the water off if it's a busted pipe. Wait until we get there
yeah,
and call a plumber.
and call a plumber.
And if you don't know any plumbers, you ask the person that you're talking to on the phone at Paul Davis.
Okay.
Because we have a list of plumbers that we work with.
Yeah, that you know to do
We
good
can-
work. And
we can get them there quickly.
yeah.
I mean, we can get them there quick.
And that's the key. Because look, plumbers and electricians, good luck getting them there quick, unless you're like a Paul Davis and
Unless you work with them every
unless
day.
you work with them every day, because it's hard. I mean, these guys, you know, stay busy, and but that again, you got to cut the water off yourself, and you're like, well, I'm just going to call a plumber. Well, you don't know the damage you may have. They need to do a moisture check. They need to do a mold check. They need to make sure. I had a friend who's had a air conditioner, maybe it was like an air conditioner pipe or something, but it busted and leaked.
Sure.
And he was out of town for 2 weeks and came back to a mess. Make sure, folks, that that you know the steps, and the first step is to call Paul Davis. They can walk you through anything right there on that phone number.
Absolutely.
For sure. Now, some fire damage tips. And I want to mention, they have a great website, by the way, that offers tips and things like that you can do in these situations, other than or immediately after calling Paul Davis. One thing with fire, if you notice you have a fire in your house, don't go in your house. It seems common sense, right?
Absolutely.
But a lot of people do it because either that it's not a huge fire, so they think, I'm going to go grab everything I can, and look, we all get it. I would probably want to do the same thing. But what you don't know is if you go in there, it could be a lot more out of control than you think. Just the smoke alone could kill you.
Sure.
You don't even need to get burned. So grab your cell phone out of your car or whatever, call Paul Davis and the fire department, and don't go in your home. That's probably the biggest key. With fire damage, what would you say the biggest, I don't want to say the biggest disaster, but what do you get the most calls for? Or is it pretty spread out and
It's pretty spread
20%
out.
every
I
way?
would say that water damage is number one.
Yeah.
Fire is number two.
Yeah.
But, we get a lot of biohazard stuff too.
Yeah.
So
Wow. So it's just a even percentage all the way around with all the services that you offer. Again, I want to push really hard the fact that the separator with these folks, not only their longevity, but the fact that they have contractors on staff that not only can mitigate your issue, whatever it is, but then they can fix it. They can actually make you back whole.
One-stop shop.
One-stop shop. Love it. Love that around here because that's what I look for. I don't want to have to hire this guy to do this. Y'all are stepping over each other.
Well, it's not about you searching for the contractor.
Yeah.
It's so much contractor fraud is going on right now. And
nightmare.
we have homeowners that get burned all the time because they'll call and say, we had a contractor. They're in jail right now. What do we do?
Yeah, we gave them $10,000.
We gave them $10,000. So we have
it makes me sick.
things in place to keep homeowners safe with stuff like that. You're working with trained, licensed individuals in good standing in the state of Louisiana.
Love it. And that's called trust. And you can't even put a price tag on that.
No.
Can't even put a price tag on it. Now, there's steps. One thing on your website that was really intriguing to me was you had a section that said steps to complete. And the first step is triage. And we definitely want to push this pretty hard. And that is the fact that no matter what sort of emergency you may be having, within an hour, you're there. You're responding 24/7 service, just like we talked about. And you call that your triage. And then you mitigate whatever damage it may be, whether it's fire, flood, mold. At that point, you restore. And at that point, you're back home. So one company doing all of that can't put a price tag on it, in my opinion.
One-stop shop.
Another great thing with all of this, and I know some folks out there are like, Jim, all this information you're giving us is great, but if we have this issue, what are the ways in which we can get in contact and report them? Well, obviously the phone is the common one, but let's say, you're panicking and you can't remember a number. Go to the website. There's actually a section there. You put your name, your phone number, your email, your zip code, tell who you are, property owner, and what type of service you need. And click Get Help Now. And guess what? 24/7, somebody's monitoring that and they're going to call you.
Absolutely.
And they will have answers to your questions. I would imagine it's good for someone to keep their insurance declarations page on their phone or somewhere where they can access it from anywhere.
We tell people that every day, scan it. They have all of the scanner apps on the phones now. Scan it, store it in your photos.
Yeah.
People take good care of their photos on their phone, so
Yeah.
let that be like your top photo.
Yeah, there you go. And that will probably be the only information you need to start kind of the claims process off with them. Because if you looked at me right now and asked me, Jim, what's your deductible? I go,
Have no clue.
I don't know. Whatever it was last year. I've got a general idea, but I couldn't tell you that off the top of my head. If you asked me, Jim, do you have this endorsement or this? I don't know.
You probably don't even know what your contents coverage
Probably
is.
not.
No, and that's important. For
I definitely
people to
have it,
read
but I don't know what it is.
Right.
I learned that lesson.
But you need to see what your contents coverage is on your policies. People need to look at that and pay attention to it.
Yes.
Because when a storm happens, if you only have $12,000 worth of coverage and everything in your house is ruined, you're only getting $12,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no bump up in coverage because it's a hurricane.
That's right. That's right. And your deductible is higher during a hurricane than
Sometimes it doubles.
Yeah. Yep.
Sometimes it doubles.
Yeah. So I was surprised how many people weren't aware of that after they had hurricane damage in the past hurricane that came through here. it surprised me because I was aware. I couldn't take my deductible, but I knew I had a higher one.
Right.
As far as that goes. Now we talked about reviews a little bit earlier. I do want to kind of shout out and look, y'all. I just went and sporadically screenshotted some, but we're going to give a little shout out to some of these people and what they had to say about Paul Davis Restoration. One of them, Miss Jen. And I don't want to jack up your last name, so I'm going to say Jen C. How about that? Because you've got a good little Italian last name. There's no way I'm going to pronounce correctly. Now, she said, best ever customer service. We contacted them today with cleanup need, and they responded quickly, going above and beyond to fit our tight schedule. Not only were they professional and thorough, but also showed great respect and concern for the individuals in need, something that I picked up on just during this interview. We were also super impressed with the price. It would be easy to take advantage of people facing an emergency. What we were just talking about with these shysters, for lack of a better term. But they did not. I can't say enough good things about our experiences with Paul Davis. Highly recommend.
Sure.
Awesome. Angela Jowers said, due to a dishwasher leak, we have had to have our kitchen floor dried out. And that's something we didn't necessarily talk about, but sometimes it's not an emergency that's life or death.
Right.
But sometimes it's something that you have to get done. And the dishwasher leak is a great example of that. You got to dry that floor back out. Otherwise, if you got wood floors, it's going to get underneath and you're going to have problems. I was grateful for Paul Davis and their employees. They were all very professional and helpful in my distress. I was a little overwhelmed by everything, but they were patient and explained everything, and I really liked how they called before coming each day to check on the drawing instead of just showing up. Pretty awesome. Our recent experience with Paul Davis was excellent. They did a great job of diagnosing, abating, and restoring our problem while being courteous and considerate. They were careful to keep us informed of the work they were doing and made every effort to fit the work into our schedule. And Gary Nelson said that. And I noticed that in several of those, and those were just sporadic, the schedule aspect of you were able to fit into their schedule. Obviously, that's a big concern that you want to make sure people don't have to worry about is their life's already changed enough. So from a scheduling standpoint, you're in and out. You're not the painter that's painting for an hour and sitting down for 4 hours, that kind of thing. So
we don't want to be there in the afternoons while you're trying to get your kids in bed. We hurry up, we do what we have to do, we do it correctly, and we get on out.
Of all the things that you do, what would you say would be probably the most difficult thing for your customers to understand from a restoration standpoint? Like if there was something that you're always like, man, I wish people would understand how important this is.
Probably them paying their deductibles.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we will get to the end of the job and they do not understand that the deductible has to be paid.
Yeah.
Some insurance companies take it out, but from a restoration point and rebuild, that is the hardest thing to make people understand is that you have a deductible.
Yeah.
It's not a fee that we're adding on.
No, it's that's between them and their, what they agree with their insurance company, essentially.
Sure.
We all have those. But I can guarantee you deductible's a lot cheaper than paying the whole thing out of pocket.
Absolutely.
For sure. A couple of things I wanted to mention. April and May, look, if you listen to this show, and I'm going to push this before it's out there, so hopefully you've listened to the whole thing just to get this great little discount we're going to offer you here. But there's a free moisture check, and this is going to be in the months of April and May. They want to get you ready for, all the seasons that are coming up, but storm season right around the corner. And you can do a free moisture check and kind of tell how that works. What are you looking for with that?
Baton Rouge, Watson, Denham areas, we're offering a free moisture check if they mention that they heard us here.
Local leaders.
That's it. So we will go in, we'll check around windows. We'll make sure that you don't have a leaky window from the winter time. We'll check
That's
bathroom
fantastic.
areas. We'll check under the sinks.
Yeah.
And if we find something, we will help you with your insurance to get it taken care of.
Very good. And if you're all good and tight and snazzied up, they're gonna let you know that too. So that's peace of mind for you that, hey, everything's gravy right now. But Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, Watson areas, give them a call and they'll be glad to go out there, do that. Just mention local leaders when you call. And y'all had fun today, didn't you?
Yes, sir. We did.
We love to talk restoration around here. I appreciate y'all coming on.
Thank you.
Tell everybody, hopefully you know this off the top of your head, but how can they get in touch if they're in a situation?
Our office number is area code 225-408-0390, and it is BatonRougePaulDavis.com.
Boom. So that's what you want to look for and search. And look, folks, we're going to link that website to the description of this video. And also, you've heard us mention a few times on here some of the different situations you can encounter in be in need of a Paul Davis restoration to help you through. So again, y'all, Paul Davis Restoration. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman, reminding you, love your community, support local businesses just like Paul Davis Restoration, and keep leading. Thank you very much.